the statistics are that the Rangers had more hits than the Florida Panthers, but I thought the Florida Panthers, from the middle of the second period on, all the way through overtime, were throwing their bodies around like left and right. And then the question is, you have to ask yourself, the Rangers are going to be able to withstand all of this, because if it does go 7, which I think it's going to go, there's a lot of hits that are being thrown, and a lot of hits are being thrown at the Rangers, especially on the forecheck of the Panthers. And the amount of giveaways late in this game, the amount of breakaways, the amount of one-on-none towards Igor Shesterkin is mind-boggling. That's why we all love Igor. We all think that he is a terrific, terrific goalie, because he has made, again, last night, probably 7 or 8 grade A chance saves against this Florida team. And you remember yesterday I was telling you, you were asking me about the Ranger power play, and I was saying how aggressive Florida is. So if they're going to be so aggressive where they're going to go out to the points and they're going to leave their guys lower, below the dots exposed, there's a much bigger hole in the middle of the ice.
Which is exactly how the Trocheck goal
That's
happened.
exactly how the Trocheck goal happened, and that's also how the Reinhart goal happened in overtime, because I don't know what Jacob Trouba was doing. Jacob Trouba decided to go to a guy on the boards and leaves his low spot. That guy on the boards is not going to score. He's just not going to score from there. And the moment he comes to him, that leaves Reinhart wide open in the middle, and he ends up scoring the game-winning goal. So, while I love Jacob Trouba and I love all of his physicality, his toughness, I thought he, had a couple really bad turnovers late in this game. That particular decision to go to the boards, up above the circles as opposed to staying below where he should have, I believe he should have, is just mind-boggling to me. And then, of course, you have Blake Wheeler, who I thought looked really good last night. Looked like he had some pep in his step. He played, I thought, a very physical game.
People don't know he had been gone for a very long time.
Yeah.
The injury was deemed potentially career-threatening when it happened, and he rehabbed his ass off and threw himself in the middle of this series against that team and acquitted himself better than nicely. I mean, he was
right.
I mean, and a lot of eyes were on him, and I'm sure they wanted to take advantage of what they thought was going to be a guy that wasn't in that type of playoff shape, and he was pretty good.
I'll tell you what, he looked like he had a jump in his step, like he was happy to be out there. And a lot of people are like, what is he doing on the ice in overtime? Well, they were in the middle of a line change, so they started with Kako, Kreider, and Zibanejad. And Mika makes, I don't know what he's doing. He makes his pass to Blake Wheeler, of all people, because Wheeler's on the ice and Cooley is now on the ice, and Mika's stuck out there with them, and he makes this pass at this juncture of the game, and it's just a dangerous pass. And he puts Wheeler in a really bad position. And, of course, who's the guy who's got the puck on his stick? Alexander Barkov, who is owning Mika Zibanejad in this series. He's just owning him. Now, he doesn't have neither one of them are really scoring any goals. I mean, Barkov's probably had at least, I would guess, at least 10 to 15 more shots, it feels like, than Mika has. And Mika had an open net last night, and he just could, hits Bobrovsky in the shoulder, goes off the crossbar, and that's the area where the Rangers could have taken a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and that I thought was critical. I know so much hockey happened after that, but I think that if you're up 2-1 in the series and then you scored on that particular power play, like that was not going to be a cheapy goal. They were throwing the puck around in a good way, boom, boom, tape to tape, and they looked so in control, and they had already played that period so well. I thought that if they go up 2-0 in that situation, that's where the Rangers could have taken over the game. Now, it didn't happen that way, and maybe who knows what the hell would have happened after that. But I thought when they didn't score in that power play, I was like, damn, because that was the best their power play had looked, just from a standpoint of passing the puck in this series.
When you play against an aggressive team like Florida, the best way to do it is to move the puck and move your feet and keep moving and try to get them out of position, much like Florida got Jacob Trouba out of position on the game-winning goal.
Yeah.
You just got to keep moving. You got to keep moving, and you just got to go a little bit. Trocheck's just got to back up a little bit, much like Reinhart did. And all of a sudden, what they call that box defense that everybody plays gets spread out. And now no longer are those sticks all in the way of cross-ice passes. and it was a great goal by Vinny Trocheck,
Yeah.
great goal, and it was a great pass by Artemi Panarin because he was moving, and when you're moving like that, it's hard for them to zero in on you, especially when they're down a man, and that's exactly what happened to the Rangers on the game winner. It was the same. It was the same type of play. Just the puck didn't come from below the red line; it came from the boards. But there's a lot of things that I could sit here and complain about. The first hit of the game on Roslovic by Sam Bennett is right to the head, right to the head. And there's not one replay from ESPN. There's not one discussion about it. And I know the game it's a fast-flowing game, so it's hard to always get to all the replays. But, I mean, my God, I'm like, did I just see what I just saw?
Yeah, I mean, it's
right out of the gate, and nobody is saying anything about it?
It's almost as if he had to lay there and just sort of not embellish, but I mean, it's all, the only way that ESPN will pay attention to something like that is if the guy's just flat on the ground and the play needs to stop because of it, and a penalty is called.
Well, maybe Roslovic needs to go down and lay down on the ground, so at least the referees will stop the play, as we've seen in this series. But look, this is what I was talking about before this series started. It's going to be a slog. It is going to be a bitch to get through this. There are certain guys last night, Kakko didn't have a shot on goal. Kreider didn't have a shot on goal. Mika's still playing his 200-foot game. He came back and saved the game at the end of the game on Verhaeghe, again with another 0-on-1, and Mika has to come out of nowhere to come back and make sure he gets the puck to the corner and keeps it away from Verhaeghe on a rebound. And again, like I said, their captain is playing his ass off. He is absolutely dominating this series along with Igor Shesterkin.
Well, yes, and that was the point. So the Rangers' biggest star has been Igor Shesterkin, where you need more offense out of Panarin and Zibanejad, whereas you've got Barkov, who is doing essentially everything that he wants to do out there other than score goals. But he is the guy that if you're watching this game, like, he's the best player in this series. He is the guy,
the best skater in this series.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
you can just see it. So I mean, that's really what it boils down to, is you've got an all-world goalie playing at the top of his game, and the Florida Panthers handling the Rangers' most skilled players pretty handily. And the Rangers can keep up because they're deep and they're good, and Igor's playing the way he is. But if you want to win this series, there has to be that game that Kreider had, where he scores three, the natural hat trick, where Panarin gets a couple of goals, where Zibanejad breaks through, and, he has a goal in the third period in a critical situation where he had to fight through some really, really tough Florida physicality. So that's going to be the thing that separates the Rangers, and you haven't seen enough of that yet, even though they really had an opportunity last night, especially early on, to take a 3-1 lead in the series, which is crazy.
They're putting so much pressure on the Ranger defense in the defensive zone, or their Florida's offensive zone, however you want to look at it. They are getting the pucks are in deep. There are board battles going on left and right. Some are won, some are lost. There's hits being thrown left and right. Some of the hits in the third period, you could say the Rangers had more hits, but which hits are more effective? And to me, in a 7-game series, the Rangers are getting beat up pretty good here. Now, they're hanging tough. Don't get me wrong. And they have every opportunity. It's still now it's a best of 3, and you still have home ice advantage. And this is where Game 5 becomes the pivotal game. This is the game right here. This is the game that the Rangers cannot lose. They have to win this game, in my eyes, in order to bring it back home. And by the way, both of these teams tend to play better on the road for whatever reason. And, if you lose 2 games at home, as Ray Ferraro said last night, especially, back-to-back games, it's very hard for you to win the series. So there was desperation on the Florida side for sure. A couple of those goals in the second period were just annoying and frustrating. And, Igor usually, doesn't allow one in like Sam Bennett had.
Yeah, and that was really frustrating, because that was, you're talking about just a goal squirting by when the Rangers had all these opportunities, and the Mika crossbar that doesn't go in, and then that's the goal. I mean, that's
Hell,
just your
Lafreniere
classic.
hit the post too. He clanked the post too.
Right. It's in very skillful plays, but that's just your classic hockey situation. And then you get this little squirter that gets by Igor that you can't criticize him, but you're right. That's not something you normally see.
Yeah, you don't
from him.
normally see that. I think he would consider it a bad goal. I think even Steve Valiquette would consider it a bad goal. But look, with the amount of shots that he is facing, I think last night it was 40 compared to like 24 for the Rangers shots on goal. Now, shots towards goal, and people they have to understand something. If they say that Florida's taken 100 shots at the goaltender, like they're sending the puck towards the goaltender has got to be awake for every single one of those shots. He can't assume that the puck is going past him or around him or it's not going to hit him. So that's the pressure that Igor has been under. And I can't remember the last time I feel like I'm watching Henrik again, where teams are just taking shots and more shots and more shots. And I guess I don't know why more teams don't play like Carolina and Florida. It's a very effective way of playing. And the other thing I just feel like, when I saw the lineup yesterday and I saw that they took Hedl out, they want to be careful with him, but he hasn't really been doing much. And they put Blake Wheeler in. I was happy for Blake 100%. And like I said, I thought he played really well last night, and I thought he had some jump in his legs. I just kind of feel like I got to believe in Peter Laviolette. He knows what he's doing. He's been here before with many teams. He's one of the most successful coaches in the league. And I know he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but can his horse beat theirs really when it matters is what it comes down to. It's almost like a trainer, like, Bob Baffert's been there a million times, whatever, but do they have the better horse?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to is are you going to be standing at the end of this thing saying that as good as Panarin and Zibanejad are, like Barkov was too good, where Kachuk was too good, Bennett was too good, Verhaeghe was too.
It's close. It's close, man. And this is what the problem is that the perception, watching these games, watching all four games, the Rangers had one dominant period, and that was period 1 in Game 4.
Yeah, and
that was their most dominant period, and they could have been up 2-0. But even if they would have been up 2-0, that game would have been tied going into the third period, and probably would have still gone into overtime just simply because Florida is pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So, I'd like to see the Rangers, respond in kind at home come Thursday night. I mean, I'm sitting there as we're going into overtime, I'm thinking, okay, if we win this game here, man, Thursday night's going to be a war.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be a war, but now it's a war that you have to win. You had some breathing room. If you would have won last night, you would have had some breathing room. There wouldn't have been a lot of pressure, but now there is pressure. And this type of pressure is a privilege, honestly. And this team has responded to it all year long, and I would expect that they would respond to it on Thursday night. I mean, this has been exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be knockdown, drag out. It was overtime games. It's crazy hockey. It's physical hockey. And this is exactly what the NHL playoffs are supposed to be.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever said this before, but I'm going to give you a stat that Al Dukes put in a hockey stat that Al Dukes put in our show sheet.
Okay.
I mean, that's how comprehensive. I mean, he's given us all sorts of tidbits. Rangers last night out attempted 88-44. Which was better than the previous game, which was 108-43.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about.
Still double the amount of the shots that are flying past Igor Shesterkin in addition to the ones that he's actually saving.
And how about the amount of blocks that the Rangers do have? Jacob Trouba has blocked a lot of shots, so those don't really count. But when you think about, yes, you're the goalie, they're throwing the puck towards you 88 times. And a shot on goal counts when it hits him, and the person who is doing the statistics thinks that could be a goal.
That's got to be a tedious job, man.
So I don't know. I don't know how accurate they are. I mean, some of it's.
And this came up in the warm-up show. Both Al and Jerry had never heard that phrase.
And never heard out attempted
before.
I hadn't known it was such a thing until Boomer brought up the big disparity in Game 3.
Yeah,
I didn't know that it was like the out attempted.
They had 108 attempts, I believe, in Game 3.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
And the Rangers still won the game.
I think we should talk more hockey.
Well, we're trying, and there's a million things that went on in this game, as does in every single game. It's hard to encapsulate every mistake that was made or every missed call that was made. This wasn't about the officials last night. I just thought, right out of the gate, Bennett goes right to the head of Rosselbeck. That's what it looked like to me, and I never saw a highlight of it. I never saw a replay of it. And I knew right from that moment on, it was going to be like, you better get your chin straps buckled because they're coming hard, and they did. I mean, you got to give them credit. And that Barkov is a pain in the ass. I told you it was going to be a pain in the ass. And Reinhardt's the guy. Mm-hmm. And if he's scoring, especially on the power play like that, it creates another problem that the Rangers have got to handle. But they got to. You can't be chasing. Let them take the shots from the outside. It doesn't matter. The shots from the inside or the unencumbered shots where the guy is like Trocheck and Reinhardt were for their particular power play goals is exactly what you want if you're on offense. So, hey, look, it's 2-2. The Rangers have been hanging on. Igor's been playing great. It's been amazingly physical. The forecheck has been relentless. These two series back-to-back. I don't know why the Rangers don't play like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like
the Hurricanes, like the Panthers. Yeah.
Carolina and the Panthers play the same way. I mean, they go after everything. And I'm just like, what? Are you going to sit back and take this? I mean, sooner or later, somebody has got to step up in that room.
Well, it's going to have to happen in Game 5.